Hello everyone, we are reading Law of Evidence. This is Dr. A.K. Jain and we are starting with first chapter, Introduction, and the first topic is Substantive and Procedural Laws. There is one question in DU 2007. How substantive law is different from procedural law? Explain briefly while taking the example of an Indian Evidence Act 1872. So let's start. Laws may be divided into substantive and procedural law. The laws by which rights, duty, and liability are defined are called substantive laws. The laws by which rights, duties, and liabilities are defined are called substantive laws. For example, IPC, which defines several offences and also lay down the punishment for such offences. The laws which prescribe the mode by which the application of substantive law is regulated are called procedural laws. The laws which prescribe the mode by which the application of substantive law is regulated are called procedural laws. For example, CRPC. The procedural laws can be further divided into two parts. Procedural law, two parts. Firstly, there are rules dealing with the various procedure to be followed in a court of law. Secondly, there are rules dealing with the mode of proof of the existence or otherwise of rights, duties, and liabilities. For example, Evidence Act. There are two parts in procedural law. First, rules with various procedures to be followed in a court. Second, rules dealing with the mode of the proof of the existence or otherwise of rights, proof of rights, duties, liabilities. For example, Evidence Act. The object of every judicial investigation is enforcement of some right or liability which invariably depends upon certain facts. Law of evidence is a system of rules for ascertaining the controverted questions of facts in judicial inquiries. The substantive law merely defines what facts go to constitute a right or liability. The law of evidence inquires into these facts. It is a procedural law which provides inter alia how a fact is to be proved. The law of evidence bears the same relation to a judicial investigation as logical to the reasoning. However, there are limitations on the free process of reasoning in the form of certain rules or principles. The law of evidence is a system of rules which a court has to follow. The law of evidence is basically procedural and does not affect substantive right of parties. However, it has here and there overtones of substantive law. For example, the law of estoppel can defeat a man's right. It shuts his mouth. It would not permit him to speak of his rights. Next topic, role of laws of evidence in civil or criminal proceedings. Role of law of evidence in civil and or criminal proceedings. The rules of law of evidence for civil and criminal cases are in general the same. For example, the method of proving that a particular person is dead in respect of civil case, person executing the person executing the will died or not on a particular date. Or criminal case, a person charged with murder But there are certain sections of Evidence Act which apply only to the civil cases. For example, section 115 to 117 dealing with the estoppel, and some only to the criminal cases. For example, section 24 to 30 dealing with the confession. The method of proving, that is, burden of proof, is on the prosecution. Plaintiff is same in both. The method of proving burden of proof is on the prosecution, that is, plaintiff is same in the both, but there is a marked difference as to effect of evidence or weight of evidence in civil and criminal cases. There are marked variation in standard of proof in civil and criminal cases, discussed later. Next topic is criticism of law of evidence. A crucial question is, does this elaborately frame code of law of evidence give any assistance to the judge whether and how far the ought to believe the what witness see? The answer is, a judge cannot absolutely rely on the rules of evidence. No rule of evidence can guide the judge on the fundamental question of whether evidence as to relevant fact should be believed or not, and if believed, what inference to be drawn from it as to the main fact. Again, the rules of evidence are not rules of logic. They throw on no light at all on a further question of equal importance to the one first stated. Rules of evidence are artificial. The best guide of judge on a question is his own common sense and experience of human nature. A person ignorant of those rules may give a much better answer than a judge. Owing to the difficulty and abstruseness of doctrines propounded, the court are less eager to entertain, and the lawyers are different to urge. The question of law of evidence, which requires closure and critical study of the provision of Evidence Act. It is suggested that the rules of evidence should not be pedantic, nor should discretion be too wide. Next topic is law of evidence in India. The word evidence is derived from the Latin word evident or evidere, which means to show clearly, to discover clearly, to ascertain, to prove. The word evidence is derived from the Latin word evident or evidere, which means to show clearly, to discover clearly, to ascertain, to prove. Historically described as child of injury system, the system associating with the judge, 12 men in the administration of justice. The object of rules of evidence is to help the courts to ascertain the truth, to prevent protracted injuries, and to avoid confusions in the mind of judges, which may result from the admission of evidence in excess. Thus, Indian Evidence Act 1872 was passed with the main object of preventing indiscipline in the admission of evidence by enacting a correct and uniform rule of practice. There are three main principles which underline the law of evidence. Three main principles. First, evidence must be confined to the matters in issue. Evidence must be confined to the fact in issue, matters in issue. Second, hearsay evidence must not be admitted. Third, the best evidence must be given in all cases. The Indian Evidence Act 1872 is mainly based on the English law of evidence. It was drafted by Sir James Stephen, who drafted the Indian Evidence Act 1872. This is the question of DU 2007. It was drafted by Sir James Stephen. The Act is not exhaustive, that is, it does not purport to contain all the rule of evidence. For the interpretation of the section of Act, the court can look to the relevant English common law. However, the court cannot import any principle of English law which is inconsistent with what is led by the Act. Scheme of the Indian Evidence Act 1872. The Indian Evidence Act is divided into three main parts. First, relevancy of facts. Chapter 1, containing section 1 to 4, deal with the preliminary points. Chapter 1, relevancy of fact. Relevancy of facts with the preliminary points. Chapter 2 deal with the what facts may and may not be proved. Section 5 to 55. Second, mode of proof. Chapter 3 to chapter 6. Mode of proof deal with the how are the relevant facts to be proved, etc. Section 56 to 100. Production and effect of evidence. Chapter 7 to chapter 11. Production and effect of evidence deal with by whom and in what manner must the evidence be produced. Section 101 to 167. The provisions of Indian Evidence Act are intended to separate the grain from the chaff and secure for the consideration of the court the best evidence. Till 2000, 19th Amendment have been made in this Act. Next topic is application of Indian Evidence Act. This we will discuss in next video. Thank you very much.